Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we gotta know, why did it fail? Now today's game in question is subjective, because it received pretty average to a little above average in the western part of the world. However, it's important to note two things. Most of the original fan base did not like or well receive the game. Not everyone, I'm not saying all original fans hated it, but there was a pretty big backlash when it came out from original fans. I know that much. And the fact that wasn't even released in Japan. And you can't tell me that doesn't say something about that. Because I think that's a sign that it really lost a lot of the aspect that original fans basically argue about. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't like the game a whole lot. It has good merits. It has bad merits. And I'm not going to be like, let's go, AVG. Okay. But, in case you didn't pause the video to see the back of that cover, we're going to be talking about Silent Hill Homecoming. And yes, indeed, what I just said was true. Homecoming never was released in Japan. It was originally going to be, and it wasn't. And supposedly there were different rumored reasons for that. And they're also subjective. Some say it's because of the backlash from original fans in America. So in America, Europe, and that. This basically got released everywhere else except for Japan, which is very weird. Some say the backlash from original fans encouraged that. The less focus on the psychological aspect of the series is very garnish in this. And now, admittedly, I've never watched Jacob's Ladder. I don't watch horror movies. I like playing horror games, but I don't like watching horror movies. I have the Silent Hill movie, but I've never watched it. Horror movies don't really interest me. So I'm told that the story is very reminiscent of Jacob's Ladder. So no disrespect to Jacob's Ladder, but plot didn't interest me much. And others also say that had a lot to do with bugs. This game had bugs, lots of bugs. And admittedly, I did not experience a lot of bugs when I played it. So, admittedly, I didn't have a lot of problems in that aspect except one time. Pretty minor bugs, so. But I've seen people's footage of very dangerous and horrifying bugs in this game. So, they're not non-existent. They exist. I don't know if they've ever been patched. I think I heard the PS3 version's been patched, but the Xbox 360 version never got patched or something, I think. Probably, But whatever the case reason, it wasn't released in Japan. And as far as I'm aware, there's never been 100% reason why exactly. So, like I said, it's a little subjective whether you want to consider this a fail. Because, I mean, like I said, in America, it has kind of decent scores in that. So, subjective. So, work with me here, work with me. Let's not all just go grab the pickaxe and murder people around here. Now, I really feel that for the original audience of the Silent Hill games, it lost a lot of focus because, for one, it wanted to be really graphic heavy, which is obviously something that American developers really into. It's like, we gotta push those graphics. It's everything. I mean, like, stuff like 2K games where they said, like, we can never achieve emotions without photorealism and shit, is the kind of stuff that a lot of American developers, not all, but a lot of big American publishers are really graphic heavy and a little less on everything else. It's like the top priority. And being developed by Western, it's the second Western developed Silent Hill game. I really feel like they obviously were taking more focus on being more graphical, which has its ups and downs. Like, for example, one of the things that was really cool in the game was an aspect they took from the movie. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the movie. I've watched, like, Fairless's thing of it, and wow, I don't consider that a legitimate reason to hate the movie, because unless I see it in its full context to give my expressive opinion, but from what I've seen, I probably wouldn't like it, but I'm not going to really state much until I ever watch it uh, in its entirety. But one of the cool aspects was the way how the otherworldly transition was in the movie. They borrowed that in Homecoming, and it caused a really awesome effect. It's a really interesting transition effect, and definitely much better than the whole mule thing that was in Origins. Much better. In my opinion, in that case scenario, again, you no longer had control of it, which was a great way to go back into that, because the control of going back and forth just kind of made it like felt like arbitrary additional mazes, because it would change what doors are open and unlocked and stuff, and it really caused a lot of meaningless backtracking in a lot of cases. But really, the atmosphere, which has a little to do with graphics, but it's very important to note that the atmosphere that was created in Silent Hill 1 and 2 were simply created because of the technical limitations of the hardware they were on. Not simply because they were trying to push graphics, but because it wasn't actually possible for them to push graphics. And that created an awesome atmosphere that tons of people loved. And, like, again, I'm not trying to be hateful or, directly like, you people with bad taste to it. But I think the HD remakes of Silent Hill 2 and 3 is an excellent example of how taking what was created to create an atmosphere and hide the technical limitations of the hardware, and when they took them away, it kind of actually made it worse. Whether you want to say it's nitpicking of that, I've seen a lot of screenshots and videos and things of parts that weren't polished because of the major removal of the fog in that, and there's a lot of questionable things in there. I remember when that came out, actually, one of the original creators of Silent Hill actually got quoted saying that they couldn't believe that Konami could release the game in that form. So I would say there might have been a little too much negativity, hatred on there, but at the same time I can understand, because like Silent Hill 2 especially is a very beloved survival horror game, so obviously, a lot of people didn't appreciate kind of removing the atmosphere a lot more. But I think the two things that hoarded Homecoming the most, really, was the fact that the atmosphere was changed to be more graphic heavy, and combat, which I could have lived with the graphic heaviness. That doesn't bother me as much. The combat is actually where Homecoming really kills it for me. First thing, many of your weapons are melee based, and while melee is not actually abnormal in Silent Hill, I mean, even the first game, you had a melee weapon. Silent Hill 2 is obviously notorious for its melee weapon, and the Womb has melee weapons. Silent Hill 3 they all have melee weapons, so I mean, it's not like it's like some shocking thing. But the thing is, you have a really heavy emphasis on melee weapons and less on guns. First thing, you have a huge limitation on guns. You can only carry a small supply of ammo, and that's it. You find more? Oh, well, forgot my pack. I don't have my 360 bag carried in. My pockets are full of cookies. And it really encouraged you to rely on your melee weapons a lot more, which to me is counterproductive unless you're playing Silent Hill on a really easy mode. Obviously, when you're playing Silent Hill games on a much easier mode, you're more encouraged to kill things because you're given more supplies and stuff to do such. And melee, I usually go with normal. I think I did the Womb on easy though. That's actually a pretty tough game in my opinion. That one's a bit tough on the resource management, but that's just my opinion now. It was really hard for me to ignore so much stuff because there was a lot of backtracking in that game, but that's dwelling in other things. The point mainly is with the focus on melee and how melee works, because you have like with the little knife, it's amazing. You can find videos on YouTube of people who have the combo down so well that you can just kill like almost every normal enemy with the knife, just going stun locking it like hell. I mean, that kind of kills the atmosphere some, you know? Like I said, if you play like easy mode, you know, obviously you're going to probably kill everything mostly. But, you know, when you're playing harder modes, it seems kind of ridiculous that you're just stun locking everything and just like... And it's just... I don't know. I really... When I play a harder mode of a survival horror game, I kind of like the aspect of having more management. You know, the limitation of ammo. What is it like? I think it was only like 36 handgun bullets you could hold at a time. Like, I mean, there's so little inventory management in the game, and while on the flip side, you know, if you don't like a lot of inventory management, I could see that being a good thing for you. But my opinion is a lot of survival horror games, it's about managing all your items for your survival. Simplifying that kind of kills some of the survival aspect, in my opinion. So I feel like Homecoming kind of hurt the atmosphere, and the combat just kind of killed the feel of running the hell away. I think there's only like 2 legitimate moments where I was generally kind of like, what the fuck? And they were basically bosses, so aside from that, I mean, most normal foes were just kind of eh. And while I'm not a big fan of the plot, it's not exactly the most horrifying thing in the world. I have a few things I'm a little questionable about. Kind of like, I don't really want to spoil the story, but the kind of plot twist, kind of logic behind what happened to the main character in his past. There's kind of a plot hole to that if you think about it. But I don't really want to spoil that, so that one you just kind of have to think about yourself, or if you want to PM me or that, I can talk about in that. But now, of course, as mentioned, since we are talking about why it failed, subjective in this case, but there were bugs, a number of bugs. There were apparently several bugs that hampered your progression in the game. In my opinion, some of the worst type of bugs. Not in the game. Like I said, I never experienced them. I've only heard or seen videos of certain ones. I meant, in general, anything that hampers your gameplay going forward, as in, like, if there's a workaround, annoying, but still kind of acceptable. But if it like stops everything, you can no longer progress, and you have to start over or lose multiple hours of gameplay to hopefully hope it works again. That's a real big killer to me, and there's a few of those apparently in the game. I've only seen a video of like one and or different stories of other. There's a number of weird things, like a lot of the environmental stuff can be moved, like pots and stuff, and that I've seen a number of people do weird interactions that have caused objects to fly in the air, and then wow, it's not like some game destroying bug or anything, but it's slightly weird. I can't remember them all. I know there's a lot of few weird bugs I've seen. And I do really dislike how they handled the endings, because they were incredibly short and unsatisfying. Like, maybe if the endings were better, I would have probably felt more like towards the game, to be honest, when it comes to its story. But the UFO ending is garbage. Like, I've always found the UFO ending creatively weird in every Silent Hill game. Pure garbage in Homecoming. I'm sorry. That is... I have to shit all over that. That's just pure garbage with the UFO ending. Like, after Silent Hill 3's UFO ending, and then Silent Hill 4. I love Silent Hill 4. It's actually... Silent Hill 2 and 4 are actually my favorite entries in the series. And 1 second place. Third is next. And a lot of people usually hold 2 and 3 in higher regard, and usually 4 much lower. That has to do with a story aspect, but that's another topic for another time. Maybe I'll do something on that if people are interested. I don't hate 3, but there is a small thing I don't like about story versus 4. But anyway, the UFO ending was missing from 4 too, so I mean, I call it bullshit on that too, but it just, I don't see why they even put it in Homecoming, considering how it turns out, while all the other endings, hell, one of them's basically a whip-off of Silent Hill Origins. It's, I don't know, to me it was an unsatisfying title. As I said, I'm not a fan of it, and it's hard to say it's a complete success, considering the game never made it to the country of origin of the series. That's pretty bizarre in my opinion. While it's not the only case for that to ever happen, it's certainly not an incredibly common thing. I wouldn't at least refer to it as being very common, so you can't lie and say that doesn't seem slightly odd. I really feel like it's not horrible. You could actually kind of consider it the Resident Evil 4 of Silent Hill, maybe. Greater focus on action in that. Action and graphics, and leaving behind some of the traditional survival horror aspects out the window, while Resident Evil 4 kept a lot of inventory management. It kind of lost the aspect of discovering a lot of it, while a lot of the enemies would drop in that. Homecoming dropped a lot more than just simply that. So, but, I mean, it has a lot. It's a really subjective game, and to be honest, considering that still continues to have a pretty average score, at least in America, at least pertains that there is good aspects to this game. So it's not an absolute failure, but it's hard to deny that there ain't some kind of questionable things to it to a certain degree. So I say it failed mainly because of a lack of interested... No, that's not a good way. A lack of familiarity with the rest of the series, I'd say. Like, you could argue, you could argue that wouldn't Silent Hill 4 fall into that same category? Well, I think, to me, okay, this is probably, different for everyone, obviously, but to me, what made Silent Hill was its creepy atmosphere. The fog, the limited draw distance, and just exploring the fucked up environment that was in it. It wasn't necessary to have such high-def looking graphics to really understand the gritty disgustingness that was in the city. Hell, most people consider Silent Hill 2 to be like the town to be artistically awesome even to this day. How much exploration and depth and things you can find belittled in the town. It's awesome. And it's probably one of the few things that I kind of look forward to when I try, what's the newest one? Wanefall? That was it, right? It was something with Wayne. Downpour. Silent Hill Downpour, that's what it was. Because that's supposed to have more city exploration. But, yeah. And also, it's debatable whether Homecoming's even a part of the actual storyline because of its cancellation in Japan, so it's kind of a confusing mess, though. I wonder if people in Japan imported the PS3 version just to play it out of curiosity. Kind of an odd thing. But that's my thoughts on the game. That's my thoughts about why I think it's in a consideration fail mark. But not, I'm not trying to bash the game, say it's horrible. I mean, like I said, I'm not lying. I'm not a big fan of it, but it has its good aspects. I mean, graphically, it does look good. It does have its own kind of atmosphere, but it really does rely a lot more on the graphics than having not sure how to say it. I'm all limited. No, it's kind of hard to say. Kind of more of what's the term I'm looking for? More of a aesthetic design to the atmosphere instead of just simply relying on really high-tech stuff. But, not to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if not, well, we don't all love the same thing. But anyway, to the main point, I'd love to hear what you think. Why you think it failed, or why do you think it shouldn't failed, or why you think could have been better, worse, I like to hear conversations, wherever the hell the chat box gets moved to YouTube, about the subject. So, I know this one's a bit iffy, like I said, because it's subjective of whether it failed or not, because market-wise, it didn't technically fail, per se. But of course, that's why I say subjective, because let's take an example of Diablo 3. Sold a lot, didn't necessarily get a very positive fan reaction. That's what I mean by subjective. Anyway, I hope to hear your comments about it. And until next time, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I love you all.